The funeral wasn't even over when my phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I almost ignored it. But the name on the screen stopped me cold, Mr. Carver. Elijah's boss, I whispered to myself, stepping away from the murmurs of prayer. Mrs. Grafton, he said, voice low, and hurried. Come to my office. Now. And don't tell your son. Just like that. I glanced across the rows of folding chairs. Cole was smiling. Smiling while shaking the pastor's hand. They were already talking about organizing the memorial slideshow, as if my opinion were a formality. As if I were a guest. By noon, I sat in Mr. Carver's cramped office. The windows were yellowed with age, the fan hummed loudly, and dust hung in the air like forgotten words. He said nothing, just placed a plain brown box on the desk and slid it toward me. I promised your husband I'd wait until today, he said. Inside were 3 things: a flip phone, a USB drive, and a single folded sheet of printer paper. It wasn't even signed, but I recognized the print. Elijah had typed with 2 fingers, stubbornly slow. I ran mine over the paper. There were no flourishes. Don't trust anyone, not even Cole. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. Something inside me pulled tight, like a string wound too far. Mr. Carver reached into the drawer and pulled out a worn envelope. He said to give you this if anything ever felt off. I took it without asking. My hands felt cold, my feet heavier. I didn't understand why Elijah would say that about our son. But I knew Elijah. He didn't deal in paranoia. He planned. I left the office without speaking. Clutched the box like it could break. Outside, the air smelled like wet pavement and old oil. I had a dozen calls to return. People asking about flowers, about lunch. But I drove home in silence, straight past the house, and toward the address on the envelope. The address on the envelope led me to a private mailbox rental in an aging strip mall wedged between a nail salon and a vape store. The key fit box 211. Inside was a small padded envelope with my name written in Elijah's handwriting, all capital letters. I sat in the car and opened it. There was a second USB, a small flash drive taped to a sticky note. Watch this first. At home, I didn't even take off my shoes. I plugged it into the laptop Elijah used in the garage. The screen flickered. Static. Then his face. The video was grainy, filmed from his phone set somewhere dark, maybe his car. But his voice didn't waver. If anything happens to me, I need you to see this. Start with the bank records. Then call Henry Kincaid. He'll know what to do. Don't tell Cole anything. Not yet. His eyes were sunken. His wedding band glinted in the dashboard light. I think someone's watching me. I covered my mouth. Pressed pause. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I opened the folder from the first USB, the one Mr. Carver gave me. There they were. Spreadsheets, account statements, dozens of transfers. Elijah had moved nearly all of our retirement money, more than I even realized we had, into 2 new accounts. Both were in my maiden name under a private trust. He'd also closed the joint account with Cole's name on it. The biggest transfer was dated 10 days before he collapsed in the backyard. 10 days. I scrolled down. There was one more PDF labeled Henry, signed. A scanned signature. Elijah's. Clear as day. I hadn't spoken to Henry Kincaid in years. He'd helped with our taxes back when we still had the flooring business. But I remembered his number. It was written in pen on the inside flap of the envelope. I reached for the phone. My hand hesitated. Then I dialed. When I pulled into the driveway that evening, the porch light was off. I got out of the car and entered the house through the front door. My key still worked. But when I tried the garage code to open the side entrance, it blinked red. Twice. Then locked me out. Cole answered the door in gym shorts, holding a bowl of cereal. Oh, that. I reset the system. New router messed with the connection. He said it like he was doing me a favor. I didn't argue. I just walked past him, straight to the back of the house. My boxes clearly marked with my name had been moved. Half of them were now stacked in the hallway. The guest room where I'd been staying was empty, mattress stripped, dresser, drawers pulled out. "Kira's parents are coming next week," Cole said from behind me. "We figured you could use the den. Just for now." I opened the den door. Fold-out cot. One lamp. No closet. My name was still on the mortgage. I'd paid the property tax myself that January, and here I was being shuffled like leftover furniture. I didn't say a word. I didn't trust what might come out if I did. That's when I noticed the framed certificate on the mantel above the fireplace. Something new. I stepped closer. Welcome letter. Silver Hills Senior Living, Georgia. Addressed to prospective resident, Maribel Grafton. It was signed and dated 2 weeks ago. I stared at it, fingers twitching at my sides. So they'd already picked out a place. Printed the welcome packet. Framed it like it was something I should be grateful for. Without a conversation. Without a single word to me. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the den, the cot creaking every time I shifted, and stared at the shadows crawling across the ceiling. I waited until dawn to do what I knew I had to do next. I called Mr. Kincaid again. Mr. Kincaid called me back just after 8. He sounded older, slower, but his mind was still sharp. "I've got everything Elijah filed with me, including the notarized will dated last October," he said. "Everything was to go to you. House accounts, life insurance, no exceptions." I thanked him quietly and asked if he'd mind sending over a copy. He did by noon. That afternoon, we went to probate court. I sat 2 seats behind Cole. He didn't look back. Kira sat next to him, legs crossed, acting like they were there for a casual dispute about parking tickets. When the lawyer opened his briefcase and pulled out the will, I knew something was off before he even spoke. This one was dated just 6 weeks ago. It named Cole as executor. I was to receive a small allowance to cover basic living needs, but control of all assets would transfer to him for streamlined estate administration. The judge nodded. No one blinked. I asked to see a copy. My voice didn't shake. The signature was Elijah's. At least it looked like it. But it was too clean, too perfect. No hesitation, no tremor in the why. Elijah's hands had trembled for months before he died. I looked at Cole for the first time in the room. He was staring straight ahead, jaw tight, arms folded. I didn't protest. I didn't make a scene. I just nodded, politely folded the document and placed it in my bag. The next morning, I met with a woman named Candace Lowell. She had kind eyes and asked if I wanted coffee before we began. I handed her both wills. She flipped through them carefully, then sat back in her chair. "This is going to take some work," she said. "But if you're willing to be patient, I think we can prove which one is real." I looked down at my lap. "I don't want to fight," I said. "I just want the truth on paper." She nodded. "Then we'll start with the paper trail." So we did. Henry Kincaid picked up on the 3rd ring. He didn't even say hello. He did it, didn't he? His voice was calm, but there was no confusion in it. Just tired, knowing. I sank into the kitchen chair and closed my eyes. "You knew Elijah came to see me 2 months before he passed," Henry said. "He told me he didn't trust what was happening. Said Cole was asking strange questions, pressing him to change things." I gripped the phone tighter. "We moved everything into 2 protected trusts, one in your name and another under a shell LLC Elijah set up. It's watertight. No one can touch it but you." He paused. He knew Cole was circling. He just didn't expect it to happen so fast. I felt the room shift under me. "I've got all the paperwork," Henry continued. "The deeds, the transfers, the instructions all signed and dated. I'll email copies now, and I'll send hard copies by courier." I didn't speak right away. I looked across the kitchen at the refrigerator covered in magnets, grandkids' drawings, grocery lists that no one read anymore. And I realized for the first time Elijah had known this day was coming. He'd tried to warn me in the only way he knew I'd believe, by giving me a box full of facts. "Thank you, Henry," I finally said. "I'm sorry," he added softly. "I think he wanted to protect you without making you panic." After we hung up, the files came in. Dozens of them. PDF scanned signatures, annotated ledgers. Every corner of our lives neatly tracked, just like Elijah used to do when he balanced our books on Sunday nights. I printed everything and placed it into a binder. I labeled in thick marker "backup." I didn't hear him come in. I was sitting at the dining table, papers, spread out binder open, my reading glasses perched low on my nose. I had highlighted the transfer trail from Elijah's accounts to the protected trust, just to see the flow with my own eyes. Cole's voice broke the silence like a knife through glass. "You've been digging." I looked up slowly. He wasn't angry. He wasn't even surprised. Just cold. Distant. "I found what Dad left for me," I said quietly. He stepped closer. "This was supposed to be mine." He promised it. He didn't raise his voice. That made it worse. "You're acting like I stole something, but I'm the one who stayed. I'm the one who helped while he was sick." "You," he scoffed. "You just stayed out of the way." I didn't say a word. Just looked at him. Really looked at him. He stood there in my kitchen, like he owned the floor beneath his feet. His hand rested on the back of a chair, like it belonged to him, too. "You go public with this," he said, voice low. "You'll lose everything. You think they'll take your word over mine. You think people want drama from a grieving widow. You'll look unstable." I looked down at my hands. They were trembling. I folded them slowly in my lap. "Steady. Stay steady." He didn't wait for a reply. Just walked out, leaving the front door open behind him. I hadn't noticed the key until the bottom of the box was nearly bare. It was tucked beneath a sheet of bubble wrap inside a tiny envelope that just said, "Maribel only." It was brass worn smooth. Elijah must have carried it for years. Bank of Clearwater. I remembered it from decades ago. It was where we opened our very first savings account, back when we still had linoleum in the kitchen and dreams about a lake house in retirement. The next morning, I walked in without calling ahead. I told the clerk my name and handed her the envelope with Elijah's signature on the back. She read it twice, then gave me a slow nod. "We've been instructed to let you in alone." They led me to a quiet, windowless room. The drawer clicked open on the third try. Inside was a padded folder, a small cassette recorder, and a printed contract clipped neatly at the top. I sat down, pressed play. Elijah's voice came through muffled, but clear enough. "Cole's pushing. He thinks I'm weak. He's already talking to that lawyer Brent Ferris about bypassing probate. Says it'll be cleaner if I sign the house over now. I'm not doing it. But I need Maribel to know, in case I don't make it that far." The sound clicked off. I opened the folder next. Dozens of emails printed and dated, all between Cole and Mr. Ferris. They'd discussed asset transfers, how to streamline the handoff, the house, the account balances, even the furniture. Then I saw the contract. Drafted, unsigned. A cash buyer had already been lined up. They were going to sell my home. Without me. I placed everything back in the folder, zipped it into my bag, and stood. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. But when I left that room, something in me was no longer breakable. By the time I returned to Candace's office, I had every document we needed. Candace didn't smile when she saw the documents. She just took them in her hands like a surgeon lifting a scalpel. One by one, she placed each record into a new file labeled Case Grafton versus Grafton. "You have enough to file fraud, forgery, elder financial abuse," she said. "The emails alone are damning. The audio is just icing." But I didn't want to make headlines. I didn't want cameras or courtrooms. I just wanted the truth to hold. Do it quiet, I told her. Just enough to stop them. She nodded. Within 2 days, we sent 2 letters. One went to the probate judge requesting an emergency stay on the estate proceedings due to probable fraud. The second went directly to the real estate agent listed on the house contract warning of pending litigation and invalid authority to sell. By Saturday morning, the response came in. Sale on hold. Title frozen. Investigation opened. I didn't have to say a word. The paper did it for me. That afternoon, Cole came home and didn't even knock. He walked through the kitchen, pulled a suitcase from the hall closet, and stuffed it full without looking at me. I need space, he muttered. This is too much. Then he left. No apology. No denial. Just absence. Kira stayed. She barely spoke. Just moved through the house like I was the one who'd torn everything down. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. Her eyes said it all. You ruined our plan. But I didn't answer that look. I kept making tea, folding laundry, watering Elijah's lemon tree on the porch. I didn't need to explain myself anymore. The silence I kept wasn't fear. It was choice. A few days later, Candace called again. The court just responded, she said. They're ordering handwriting verification. And we've been granted a hearing. I hung up, walked outside, and sat on the porch swing. The tree was beginning to bloom. Cole never said sorry. Not when the court ruled in my favor. Not when the judge read aloud Elijah's original will, clear, firm, and witnessed. Not when the forged version was declared invalid. All he sent was a single message. You've ruined everything. I was trying to help. Help doesn't look like secret buyers and falsified signatures. Help doesn't feel like being locked out of your own garage. The court reinstated Elijah's instructions. My accounts were unfrozen. The trusts stayed protected. The house remained in my name, and the judge issued a formal warning about elder financial manipulation without needing to say his name. Kira left him 2 weeks later. I don't know the details. One morning, I walked past the guest room and saw her bags packed sitting neatly by the door. She nodded at me, said nothing, and left before breakfast. Cole moved out of state. Colorado, I heard. New number. New job. A fresh start, maybe, if the weight of what he'd done didn't follow him there. He wrote once more a few months later. A longer message this time, softer at the edges. I messed up. I thought I could fix things my way. I still want a relationship. Can we try again? I read it 3 times before responding. Then I typed 1 line and hit send. Take care of yourself. That was all. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need an apology wrapped in excuses. I needed peace. And I had it. Now most mornings, I sit by the lemon tree and water the roots slowly. The bloom is late this year, but it's coming. I can smell it in the soil, feel it, in the way the branches stretch toward the sun. And in the evenings, I open the binder. Elijah left me and run my hand over the cover, not to reread, not anymore, just to remember how carefully he had chosen me to carry the truth. The final envelope sat at the back of that binder. I hadn't opened it. Until today. I opened the final envelope on a quiet afternoon, long after the lawyers had stopped calling, and the house had gone still again. Inside was a folder. My name written on the tab in Elijah's handwriting, careful all caps as always. I unfolded the letter tucked inside. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But I trust you more than anyone. I know you'll find your way even through this. The rest was simple. No riddles. No hidden accounts. Just Elijah's words written in the same pen he always kept beside the bed. I didn't want to leave you with a mess, but I had to make sure you knew you were never meant to be taken care of. You were always the one holding the center. He ended it with use, what I left to live freely. No guilt, no permission needed. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the house. It was the knowing that he saw what I carried, and he chose to make it lighter. A few weeks later, I sold the big house. Not out of fear, Not because of Cole. I just didn't want to live in a place where every room had held a battle. I moved into a smaller home near the coast. Something with a porch wide enough for the lemon tree and light that filled the hallway in the morning. The neighbors wave when they pass. The grocery clerk knows my name. I brought the binder with me, but I don't open it anymore. I don't need proof now. What Elijah gave me wasn't just protection. It was release. He made sure I had something no one could take, not a will, not a deed, not even a victory in court. He gave me space to begin again, and I did.